We right there, y'all. Welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico giving y'all a draft edition of Redskins Report. I'm here to present my final 2018 mock draft. This draft is more so what I think the Redskins will do and not, but it will be as realistic as possible. So let's get it. So here are my draft picks, not including the undrafted free agents, which I'll show later. And now I'm about to break down each pick and why I've picked them. Defensive lineman Vita Vea out of Washington. Like I said, this isn't as much of a hope mock. This is a this will more than likely happen mock. And with Tremaine Edmonds, Derwin James, and Minka assumed to be gone before our pick if GMs aren't stupid, and since I'm not doing trades because they are too difficult to predict, which will possibly land us Darius Geis or Daron Payne if we trade it back, Vita Vea makes the most sense here, and the Redskins also hosted him for a visit. I don't like the narrative that he is only a two-down player and can only play nose tackle. He played everywhere on the line for Washington and has some success, even at edge rusher. He is best closer in the interior, but he is capable of being a three-down defensive lineman. I want him at nose tackle in our base defense, eating up double teams with his explosive, athletic, 6'4", 347-pound body. And when we run our nickel, which we do a lot, he can disrupt offensive lines from defensive tackle. Just imagine Vea eating double teams and allowing Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, Ryan Kerrigan, and Preston Smith to obliterate one-on-one blocks. That's the general impact we will have, just the broader scope. But individually, he has great burst and strength, so if he is lined up helmet to helmet, he will disrupt the offensive line and have his blocker moving backwards with his 347 pounds of bull rush. Or he can line up in the gap, and he has enough burst to shoot up his gap before blockers can really get a good stance on blocking him or getting enough hands on him. And with his heavy weight, agility that is rare for somebody that big, and surprisingly good use of hands and punches, once he's in the gap, he's going through it and making a play. We already know about his run stopping ability, but his pass rushing is a little underrated. He doesn't have it all yet, but he has shown some IQ with hand moves and even some counter moves when he is blocked well. He is good at shedding, both through strength and technique. And just imagine when the best D-line coach in football, Jim Tomsula, gets his hands on him. Monster. I also love Vita Vea's motor. He chases down plays that pass by him. I've seen him hunt down running backs from behind. I've also seen him make athletic plays on special teams, which is crazy for somebody that big. But he's actually got some speed and agility with that size, which makes him so special. I am definitely a fan of this pick. If Tremaine, Derwin, and Minka are available, I say they are too talented and generational to pass on. But with Vita, there's no offensive lineman that can win against him consistently one-on-one. He's too powerful for that. He already has some technique, but once he's polished, it's going to be unfair. He needs to consistently get his pad level lower, and he needs to become more aware of double teams headed his way, but this is all very coachable. If Jim Tomsula can unlock his unmatched potential, he will be a key asset in beating the great offensive lines of Dallas and Philly and punishing the Giants' poor O-line. Round 2, running back Sony Michel out of Georgia. I like Ronald Jones, who the Redskins have shown a lot of interest in, but his size and durability may make him a two-down player only, running back committee type of guy. Darius Geis, who the Redskins have also shown a lot of interest in, is going too early for us unless we can trade down in the first or up in the second. Way up in the second. And I was looking at center guard Billy Price for the second pick. He may slide down to the second round due to his injury a few weeks ago, but I feel like we can get a pretty good guard later in the draft, and I feel Sony is too electric to pass up if he's there. Besides just the running, which I will talk about later, he is also a very good pass protector, which is very important nowadays. He is a great pass option, and he is a three-down player that can take beatings. He can carry the load while Chris Thompson can come in and be dynamic like he was through the first half of last year, and Thompson will have less snaps, which means less room for injury. Sony is durable. He has 20 more pounds of muscle than Ronald Jones, but he is nothing short of explosive. Last year, Rob Kelly and Samaje were bruises while Thompson was the playmaker. If we draft Sony, who the Redskins have hosted for a visit and shown interest in, then you will have both in one back, which will open up the playbook and keep defenses on their toes. When we throw out Samaje and Rob Kelly, defenses could cheat a little and know that they were running the ball and most likely running it to the inside. When Chris Thompson was out there, they knew to watch for screens, speedy plays out the backfield, tosses, and to watch him in the passing game. With Sony Michel out there, they'll never be able to cheat or guess what he will be used for play by play. Sony Michel is a very decisive runner too, which is something we haven't had in a while. He knows where he wants to go. He has the great vision and mental capacity to make very quick last second correct decisions, and he also has the athleticism to go with it and make these decisions work and make highlight reels. He makes a lot out of nothing from his vision and decision making. Sony Michel has elite level acceleration and burst. With his vision, his burst is almost unfair. He magically fits in the creases and running lanes that most backs either rarely see or even have the burst to fit through if they see it. And once he hits the line of scrimmage, there always seems to be this huge burst that catches defenders off guard consistently and allows them to make big plays. And with his burst comes agility and an ability to make defenders miss an open space whenever he chooses not to run them over, which will allow him to play in this league longer. It's kind of the perfect combination you want in a running back. He's big and strong enough to take all of the hits, but he's also fast and agile enough to avoid them, which allows him to be more durable. It's crazy. And speaking of taking hits, bruiser wise, he is not the biggest tackle breaker and bruiser guy like his Georgia brother Nick Chubb, but he is definitely the always fall forward kind of guy that will maximize the most out of each run, always bulldozing and stretching for an extra few yards, which is a very underrated quality for a running back. I just need him to work on his fumbling concerns, but if he can tighten that up, he will be the running back we've all wished for. It's a good thing for us that he played with Nick Chubb, because if he was the primary ball carrier at Georgia, he would have shown out and would have positioned himself to be drafted way sooner than we may get him. Round 4, edge rusher Arden Key out of LSU. Arden Key, who has also visited the Redskins and who may not even make it to the 4th round, is a very interesting case of extreme and rare talent. In 2016, he was a scarier matchup than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett was just only more athletic. Arden was more polished and productive. He is very fast with a burst that makes it look like he knew the snap count before the offensive tackles that were blocking him. He then uses elite bend to get under the lineman's hands and secures his hawk to the quarterback by ripping with his inside arm to prevent blockers from getting hands on him. And his closing speed to the quarterback is unfair. And not only is he athletic, but he is also savvy. Once he shows the tackle his speed and bend, he plays chess and will use different moves and angles to get to the quarterback, which will keep blockers guessing and usually guessing wrong. I've seen him do an NBA hop step to beat an Alabama offensive tackle. He is so good, he can beat people with unconventional techniques. Like, who's hop steps in football? And even when he doesn't want to go around a lineman with his elite bend and speed, he has the length to put hands on a lineman before the lineman can get hands on him. And from there, he controls the situation. And he has enough strength to throw the lineman off of him and have an easy path to his target. Talent wise, he is the best pass rusher in the class. He is a definite game changer. He is going to force so many holding penalties against opponents. He also has a knack for knocking the ball out of quarterback's hands and forcing fumbles even if he can't actually wrap up the quarterback and make the tackle. And he is also reactive and has the IQ to jump up and bat balls down when possible. And he's not bad at run defending either, like elite pass rushers tend to be. He definitely does both. But he comes with a lot of problems. Besides his shoulder injury, finger injury, and his lack of weight and lack of second effort once he is blocked, he also has some off the field issues. First of all, he took a break away from football in the spring of 2017 but returned for the summer. When he's on the field, he seems to love football, but he took an extended period of time off of football, so how much he loves it is in question. Also, he is not good in coverage. He is athletic enough to cover if he wanted to, but he seemed like he didn't want to be great at it. He plays a premium position. Quarterbacks are the most coveted position in football, so they counter. Edge rushers that don't allow them to be great or even get comfortable throughout the course of a game is the second most coveted position. Arden Key is one of the best at scaring quarterbacks that I've seen in years when he's at his best and most motivated. So he may not make it to the 4th round because of his potential, but like Antonio Callaway, he has a lot of red flags that may have him slide very far beyond his worth. I mean, not only did he take that hiatus from football, but he also takes plays off during games where he just seems like he doesn't even want to beat the guy blocking him. I definitely hope the Redskins take the risk on him. He's too talented to not at least bring in an attempt to nurture. Round 5, guard Wyatt Teller out of Virginia Tech. Wyatt Teller is also a weird prospect that has visited the Redskins. Just like Arden Key, his 2016 tape is far superior to his 2017 tape. But unlike Arden Key, his drop in production and intensity is mysterious. He didn't have any significant injuries, but his effort, aggression, and intensity dwindled in 2017. Maybe he didn't want to hurt himself before he entered the NFL. Maybe he didn't like his coaching staff. Maybe there's some personal issues that we are unaware of. I hope the Redskins found out in the meeting they had with him. And if the reason is something very fixable, we are very likely to draft him, with him having rare talent in one of our major positions of need. He was seen as a top 50 player after the 2016 season, but didn't look like the same guy last year at all. In 2016, he was similar to Will Hernandez and Quentin Nelson in playing style. Unlike the mechanical Isaiah Wynn out of Georgia, they are very aggressive and mean. They use brute force punching, and they pancake defenders often. And just like Hernandez and Nelson, Wyatt's style of play is far better suited for the run game, jumping off the line and slumping defenders off their feet with power and strength. But even with his dominance in the run game, he is also pretty good in the passing game. His strength, excellent balance, and refined hands are good tools for pass protection. His only true weakness is pull blocking. He's not terrible at it. He can actually be pretty good with pulling, but he's not consistent with it. I personally feel like Bill Callahan can get the most out of him, which is far more than we've had at left guard for a long time. So make it happen, Redskins. Round 5, wide receiver Allen Lazard out of Iowa State. As I've previously talked about in my prior mocks, Allen Lazard is a third down, red zone monster that can win any jump ball. His catch radius is insane. He has great hands, great body control, surprisingly decent route running for somebody his size. But he's not just fast, but he's just not very fast. But that's expected of somebody that is 6'5", 227 pounds. But he's actually faster than you expect for somebody to be that big. He ran up 4.55 at the combine, but he's still not very fast on tape. He's also smart and very good at adjusting to overthrown and underthrown balls. And with his size and athleticism, he is a very willing and secure catcher in the middle of the field, even with all of the banging and bumping that most receivers can't take, especially like the Redskins receivers last year. He is also very aggressive at the line of scrimmage. He not only uses his size, but he uses technique to get rid of jammers, and he uses the same tools to be a good blocker from the wide receiver position. He of course has a problem with separating from receivers, like big receivers usually do, but at least he is elite at boxing out once the ball is in the air and creates separation when the ball is near, rather than creating it through route running speed and receiver nuance. He may want to consider becoming a pass catching tight end. He isn't as proven as Jordan Reed in the passing game, but he is definitely a better blocker, and most importantly, a willing blocker. A lot of Jordan Reed's blocking problems come from his unwillingness to bang and get physical. Allen Lazard is willing to get physical. If he can improve his route running to a Jordan Reed level, then we have an elite prospect on our hands. He is also durable so far, unlike Jordan Reed. Round 6. Linebacker Dorian O'Daniel out of Clemson. What I want to happen or hope to necessarily happen. My mock will have some of my fingerprints on it, but for the most part, this is a challenge for me to see how well I can guess this draft with a few suggestions thrown in there. Now there will be trades, surprises, and all kinds of mess, so this won't be perfect at all. He's a local product out of the Washington, D.C. metro area. He's pretty athletic, not freakishly, but enough to make plays. He isn't the fastest or the biggest guy, but he's definitely one of the most consistent. He visited the Redskins, which made me look deeper into his game and skill set. I think he would be a good backup linebacker for the Redskins with his great tackling and good instincts, but what really makes him stand out is his very, very rare special teams production. He's also above average in coverage, but his main contribution would be an instant special teams coverage squad MVP. He has a huge talent for avoiding special teams blocks and then making the stop, no matter how talented the return. We draft him. He makes an instant impact on our special teams like Lorenzo Alexander used to, and he makes a decent contribution to our linebacker depth. He played for Clemson, so he's not foreign to strong competition. He's played against some of the best in college, so his experience is a plus, and his high effort and motor are major pluses. Round 7. Tight end Tyler Conklin out of Central Michigan. Talented tight end except for the Jones fracture in his foot and hasn't looked the same yet. His 2016 self was great. He had an ability to separate against defensive backs. He was a great route runner and was able to make jump ball catches even when defensive backs managed to cover him well. He is also a great run blocker. 2017 was a little different though, but his 2016 self is basically a much better blocker and slightly better route runner than Allen Lazard. He is not as good of a catcher and is not as fast. Tyler visited the Redskins and there seems to be some interest in him with Vernon Davis probably leaving soon and Jordan Reed not being able to play even half the games in the season. So look for the Redskins to definitely check him out later in the draft. Also round 7, wide receiver Darius Fountain out of Northern Iowa. I'm not a huge fan of this player, but the Redskins have shown some interest in him, and this is in fact a realistic mock, not a Rico's ideal mock. Fountain is an athletic prospect that can grow to be a nice player if coached up right. The Redskins have been reported wanting to add a few more receivers before training camp, and he seems to be the perfect guy to give a shot. He is very fast, has great acceleration, gets great separation from DBs, good agility, great leaping ability, and can be a big yards after catch guy. He needs to be coached up a lot though. He needs to work on his route running, his catching and attacking of the ball, and the timing of his jumps on jump balls. But he can actually be dangerous if he somehow picks all of that up. And lastly, the undrafted free agents I expect us to look at. Jordan Mailata is the 6'8", 346-pound, extremely athletic rugby player that visited the Redskins and has a lot of scouts raving. He is projected to be an offensive tackle in the league, but with him never playing American football in his life and moving to a very technical position like offensive tackle, he will need a lot of time and coaching in order to not be a liability on the field, even with his elite level athleticism, strength, speed, and body size. With his potential, he is definitely worth some form of a roster spot, even if it's just a practice squad for a while. I definitely don't want him on an NFC East team's roster. I'm afraid of what his potential as a defensive lineman may be also. So Redskins, please scoop him up some way, somehow. Desmond Harrison from West Georgia is another offensive tackle the Redskins may bring in, especially if they do not draft one or bring in Jordan Mailata. Desmond visited the Redskins with some mutual interest there. He has elite level athleticism, foot quickness, and length, but he has mechanics issues, consistency issues, lack of experience against real competition, and off the field concerns. He was dismissed from the University of Texas after multiple team violations. I think it's worth bringing him in to see if he can get his act together and take in some coaching from Bill Callahan. Running back Akram Wadley from Iowa visited the Redskins, and he has the same profile as Chris Thompson. He is small, explosive, very athletic, fast, quick, great at pass catching, and has great agility, cuts, jukes, and top speed acceleration. He is not a great pass blocker though, but he is a willing one at times. But like Chris Thompson, he is little and it has durability issues. He is not big enough to be anything beyond a third down back. He is also inconsistent with his vision and patience. Chris Thompson was drafted in the 5th round, and I believe Akram is not as good as him, so 7th round or undrafted free agent seems to be about right for me, even though some people think he may go well before then. Edge Mike Love from South Florida, who visited the Redskins, is a good pass rusher that has untapped potential. He possesses good pass rush skills and is very adept at getting around the edge, but he is ineffective against the run. He is a pass rush down only type of player. I find it worthy to bring him in and see where his potential may take him, and in the meantime, give our offensive tackle somebody to battle all offseason in order for them to mutually get better. Safety Quinn Blanding from Virginia, who visited the Redskins, can add value as a depth safety. He has great size and football IQ. He is also very durable. He played in 98% of all possible defensive snaps since he arrived at Virginia. That is very useful. He is limited as an NFL starter and impact player because his hips are not good. He is not very good in coverage, and he lacks the speed and range to be very effective at the NFL level. But we can see how he stands against DeShazer Everett, who is also not that good. And lastly, wide receiver Antonio Callaway from Florida, who hasn't visited the Redskins, but is a very strong suggestion from me personally. He got into a lot of trouble at Florida, enough to the point that they let him go. He didn't play at all in 2017. But when you go back and watch his 2016 tape, he is very athletic, route savvy, quick, and electrifying. If he never had off the field issues, he would be competing for the #1 receiver spot in this draft. His talent and potential is unmatched. I believe he would have been better than Calvin Ridley if he never got into any trouble. He ran a 4.41 at the combine. He was the entire Florida offense when he played in 2016. He can separate from any defensive back, virtually uncoverable in man coverage. He has great hands and body control to where he can catch underthrown and overthrown balls that are even relatively in his direction. He has great leaping ability. He had Minka Fitzpatrick looking crazy in the SEC championship game in 2016. He is also a touchdown waiting to happen in the return game, but he comes with baggage. He has gotten into trouble many times again and again, and he is also not a weight room lover or film guy, so that may be a big problem in the future too. He has first round talent, but many teams have completely wiped him off their big boards and see him as undraftable. He should be available very late in the draft or even after it, with him possibly going undrafted. I urge the Redskins to look into him. I doubt the Redskins are interested, seeing as they didn't even bring him in for a visit and get to talk to him to see what's up with him. But I can dream, right? But again, here is my actual draft. Mock draft without the undrafted free agents on the screen. And that's it for this last mock of 2018. Thanks for the view. I'm going to bring y'all a Redskins draft review after the draft ends. I got y'all back. Stay locked. Also get in them comments and let me know who y'all feel the Redskins will and or should draft. Agree, disagree, debate. Make sure y'all Dolomite fake punch that like button. Favorite, subscribe. I'll subscribe back. And most importantly, comment and share. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.